here. And tonight we're going to be taking a look at probably one of the most classiest, but yet most respected and often mocked or often often consideration a predecessor to CSI Miami when you really think about it here. It's started from 1984 to 1989. It made a huge star out of one of the lead co-stars there, and it also get paved way for another co-star onto movies like American Me, Stand and Deliver, and other movies, including the television reboot of Battlestar Galactica that was later on in the 2000s, a man I've always respected. I am speaking of the course DTV series, the one that really got me into a lot of police dramas afterwards, Miami Vice, which aired on NBC on the Friday nights at around 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Back in Michigan, that is. They often switch times here and there on Fridays there. But Friday nights, the place to be was on the NBC. And it fits to say that NBC at that time was one of the biggest networks out there, thanks to Miami Vice, Family Ties with Michael J. Fox, and of course The Cosby Show, which was running massively huge. You know, which is sometime in the future we got to talk about on this series here. You know, we got to look at all the TV shows that Bill Cosby had did in the past there,
I
and
know of at least three.
yeah. There may be, well, I know there may be a couple others. I remember, I think there was possibly I'm looking to see if he had a variety show somewhere back in the 70s. I know a couple there, but that's another time and a place there. Probably next week or the next afterwards there. But going back to Miami Vice, this really showed the glitz and glamour and the dark side of the what it's like to be a vice cop in that particular area. You know, it was created by Anthony Yurkovich. It was executive produced by Michael Mann for the NBC network. It starred actors Don Johnson as James Sonny Crockett and Philip Michael Thomas as Ricardo Rico Tubbs. Two Metro-Dade police officer detectives working undercover in the city of Miami, Florida. Now, the series ran for 5 seasons on NBC from 1984 to 1990, actually. So now, the USA Network, as soon afterwards, started airing the reruns back in 1988 and broadcast an originally unaired episode during the syndication run of the series on January 1990. Right? Now, unlike standard police programs, the show drew heavily around the 1990s new wave culture and the glitzy area of that area there, and became noted for its integration of contemporary pop and rock music within the episodes here, and style or stylish visuals. It has been called one of the top 50 TV shows by People magazine, which also stated that the series was the first show to really look new and different since color TV was invented. Now, as you know, in 2006, a film film version came out with, of course, what was the guy's name? I know Jamie Foxx was Ricardo Tubbs, and I think the one who played Colin Farrell played it, Sonny Crockett there. Hope to bunch of new characters up there. Now, the series also started later on. Edward James Olmos, the actor who I mentioned, who went off and did some unique roles, and I guess he was involved with Selena, with Jennifer Lopez. He was also in Stand By Me with Lou Diamond Phillips. He also was in a movie that he apparently directed called American Me. And he was also, as I mentioned, in the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, which ran on the Sci-Fi network for a couple of years on the during the early 2000s there. And you cannot deny all, and also we got to include the all the guest stars that appeared on there, ranging from Glenn Fry of the Eagles, Ted Nugent, Frank Zappa, Phil Collins, Miles Davis. We also had a couple others there. There was a lady named Annie Sump in there, who used to sing for this new wave band, and she was often at times a regular on the series there, playing a mechanic, fixing whoever's car needed to be fixed. Sometimes it was Sonny's because he had this expensive Ferrari that one time got blown all the bits one during one negotiation there.
Uh, yeah, they
And
their big thing was they had lots of music on this show, and one of the
a
few
lot of
shows that used not original and
com-
other.
other artists as well. I probably one of the most recognizable one was, of course, "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins, and there was one that was actually the one song that was done previously to the episode called "Smuggler's Blues," which was originally done by Glenn Frey, the former member of the Eagles. Rest in
Right.
peace. He ended up guest starring on that particular episode at the same name, and that's what kind of led me into watching that whole show when I got done whichever job I was doing at that time.
Yeah, ironically, I didn't see all. I did actually never saw the show at all, other
Oh
than bits
man,
and pieces,
uh,
because the kind of the way it was portrayed at that point didn't appeal to me. But after reading it, I'm kind of interested in picking it up and kind of taking a look because it's got a lot of elements of music in it of people that I like musically. So it's
hmm
one of those things that I always heard it was an MTV show basically,
yeah,
and
MTV Cops. That's what they were often christened as,
yeah,
believe it or not, because they often look like lost members of Duran Duran when you come to think of it at that time.
yeah, and I guess that was my deal. Plus the ads didn't really appeal, and I didn't watch a lot of TV at that point in my life.
Well,
But like I said, after reading about it and seeing some of the people that were involved in it and all that, I, I'm interested enough to probably take a look and see what was going on.
yeah. Now, the original pilot for the show was originally entitled Gold Coast, but it was later renamed Miami Vice, as you know. And basically, it was a 2 hour pilot. And the story was that a New York cop named Ricardo Tubbs heads on to Miami to get even with this notorious drug dealer who killed his brother, Nathan. Now, a lot of times the episodes would often end with some sort of a gunfire or some sort of fight here and there, you know. And plus, it will also show the what the vice cops undercover would have to go to. They had to pretend that they were drug dealers themselves. Um, I remember Tubbs would often use this fake Jamaican accent, and for a different version, his name, Ricardo Cooper, and Burnett would go on as Sonny Burnett instead of Sonny Crockett. Both
Yeah,
portray themselves as the bad guys. Of course, go undercover to catch the bad guys themselves. Sometimes they got to stoop to that low to get to capture that low.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and of
and that's
course,
essentially how they do it nowadays too. So
yeah, they do. Yeah, we see it on programs like Cops all the time, which I am praying they would bring back to network television soon, along
uh,
with Live PD. It just pisses me off that they take those off because, but then again, the agendas of these TV stations got to cater to the people, and of course, at this moment, the word cop has now become somewhat the air quote new C word, if you know what I'm talking about there.
yeah, yeah, I don't see it coming back anytime soon,
Yeah.
but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe the heat will die down possibly next year, and if we can see it come back. If that does, I'll definitely like to do a live reaction when it's first airs. Of course, with the volume down, of course. There, I
Right,
tried to do that one time, but some of the I couldn't post it because of some of the dialogue was recorded on the video there, and so they even let me know that I couldn't even post it because of
Wow.
copyright bullshit there. Now, in keeping up with the show's namesake, more of the episodes focusing on prostitution, drug trafficking, and other issues there. And like I said, they often ended with intense gun battles, claiming the lives of several criminals before they could be apprehended. An undercurrent of cynicism and few underlies the entire series there. The detectives repeatedly refer to the whack-a-mole nature of the drug interdiction and its parade of drug cartels, quickly replacing those who are apprehended.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's pretty much like real life.
Yeah, and we see that a lot of times. Now, going to the music section up here. Now, it's notable for its music, or its music selection throughout many of their episodes. I remember they featured a song from the Mission UK. It also featured, of course, Phil Collins, Brian Adams, Foreigner, uh, Roger Daltrey, El DeBarge, Duran Duran, Power Station, who made an appearance on that show with singer Michael DeBarge taking the place of Robert Palmer. Debo, Sinead O'Connor, Russ Ballard. I remember that song Voices. That came out a couple years before that, which was a great song if you ever look it up on YouTube
Right.
there, along the
Yes.
video. Jackson Brown, Kate Bush, Meatloaf, Godley and Cream, the Ward Brothers, the Alan Parsons Project, Iron Maiden, the Hooters, the Depeche Mode, the Police, Red Seven, the Nuge, um, Suicidal Tendencies, even the Damned, Billy Idol. And you also had guest appearances like, of course, as I mentioned, Sheena Easton, the Scottish singer. She played Crockett's wife for a couple of years towards the later part of this series there. Um, Gene Simmons made a few appearances on that show as well. And of course, one of the biggest, memories of that show was, of course, as it listed here, Crockett and Tubbs driving through Miami at nighttime while In the Air Tonight was being played throughout that whole scene there. Now, the theme music was, of course, you may know this guy pretty well. I've heard of this guy years earlier from his collaborations with Journey guitarist Neil Sean,
Jeff
and of
Beck.
course, yep. And he also worked with yes, he worked with the Jeff Beck group there on did that. They did an album to a live Young Hammer.
Yeah.
He is, and he was described as one of the most. He's one of those guys that plays keyboards not sitting down but standing up. He did the score for that. He did a couple other music as well. He even released an album called "Escape from Television," which included some instrumentals that was I haven't really heard the album myself, but from what I understand, it was like a kind of departure from the TV themes that he was doing at the time. You don't would get pegged as that, like they do with Mike Post
Right.
and
And
Alan
Mike
Dick.
Post is known mainly for his TV themes.
Yeah, it's like Hill Street Blues,
Rockford Files.
Law, Rockford Files, and of course Law and Order.
And a side note, Mike Post was also, if you've ever heard of Friend and Lover, that did
Yeah,
the song that they did, he was
yes,
Friend.
that was Gloria Loring, I think it is, and
Yeah.
some other singer. I remember that song. That song I guess still gets played a couple of times at nighttime on these soft rock stations, believe it or not. There
Yeah. But
and
one of the
Mike,
two of them was Mike Post.
yeah, and also by the way, keep in mind that Mike Post was the co-producer of the album Van Halen 3 along with Eddie himself.
Right.
Yeah, that came out, I guess, in 1997 or 98, and it sadly did not do that well. Apparently, I guess the kind of chemistry that Gary Sharon brought to that record was simply didn't exactly sit well with many VH fans out there.
Yeah, because as with any group, they always do albums that that's a good one. That's a good one. Then they'll throw one out there that people go, not as good. That
Yeah,
happens on occasion.
yeah, that's true as well. Now, keep in mind, we cannot forget the song "You Belong to the City," which was the number two hit for Glenn Frey around 1985 when the official soundtrack album for that series came out. It stayed on the U.S. Album charts for 11 weeks in 1985, making it the most successful TV soundtrack of all time. In fact, the theme song got two Grammy Awards in 1986. It was also number one theme song of all time by TV Guide magazine and its readers. Crockett's Theme, another composition by Hammer, became another one hit in several European countries in 1987. And during the show's run, there were about three official soundtrack albums with original music from the episodes were released. Now, Hammer, of course, has released other albums with music from this series as well. Of course, the one I just mentioned, Escape from Television, Snapshots, and many requests from fans, Miami Vice, the complete collection in 2002. So, composing the theme song and performing it probably did him a good thing, but I think deep down inside he wants to be respected for not just his work, but also the work he did with both Jeff Beck and Neil Sean.
Right.
Yeah, it's true. Now, the clothing that these two detectives wore at that time had a significant influence on men's fashion, no doubt about that. They popularized, if not invented, the t-shirt under Armani jacket style. A lot of people have seen so many men's, sporting that look so many times in music videos, in fashion layouts, here and there, in interviews and on TV shows, other as well. And it also popularized the Italian men's fashions in the United States. Don Johnson's typical attire of an Italian sport coat, t-shirt, white linen pants, and slip-on loafers without the socks became a massive hit. Crockett eventually wore a 18K Rolex day date president model in the first season until what's this one? EBEL, EBU, I think it's pronounced there. I think it's another watch company.
Yeah, I'm not
Ebel
familiar
won,
with them.
yeah, but they eventually won the contract for the remaining seasons. And similarly, Crockett's unshaven appearance at times, because he was often stubby at times, sparked a minor fashion trend, inspiring men to wear designer stubble at all times. In an average episode there, both Crockett and Tubbs wore 5 to 8 outfits. Now, during the 1986 season, they decided to make Crockett's clothing a lot more darker, like dark blue, dark gray, such and such, and designers such as Gianni Versace and Hugo Boss were consulted in keeping the males leads looking very trendy at that time. Now, costume designer Bambi Breakstone, who traveled to Milan, Paris, and London in search of new clothes, said that, quote unquote, the concept of the show is to be top of all the latest fashion trends in Europe. Jody Tillin, the costume designer for the first season, along with Michael Mann, set the style. The abundance of pastel colors on the show reflected Miami's Art Deco agriculture. Now, the only problem, the issue at that time was that, during the few seasons, the first few seasons, Crockett was often seen smoking, lighted up a cigarette in his mouth a couple times. Some anti-smoking agency or group there convinced Crockett, excuse me, convinced Michael Mann and Don Johnson to stop smoking because it was giving the kids out there idea that it's okay to light up a cigarette, and
Right.
these are the good guys. Usually the bad guys are the ones lighting up a cigarette, and nobody likes the bad guys unless you're a total heel lover like some people are nowadays. And at that time, smoking all was considered bad. It causes lung cancer. Mr. Johnson, can you please, stop smoking? In which Johnson eventually did. He decided to quit smoking on the set there.
Well, I kind of understand that because unfortunately kids mimic what they see
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
for the
I
most
remember.
part,
I
not
remember.
always, but
Yeah, that's true. But then again, they often see their parents smoke and they pick up on that. I remember people were given the surgeon, basically the Surgeon General was given Slash a lot of beef because he was endorsing thing called these Black Death cigarettes, if I'm correct. And they figured, oh, Rockstar is going to teach these kids how to smoke and blah 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 blah. We see it and hear it so many times, folks. If they're going to smoke, they're going to smoke. No matter what. They get it from their parents. They get it from elsewhere. They see everybody else doing it now. You
right.
know, and plus we see so many people come out with excuses like I can't. It's addictive. I can't stop. Be forewarned that it is addictive substance. Look at Ozzy Osbourne. He said many times he had to quit. How many times he had to quit, and he wasn't able to be successful at that. He said it cigarettes were to be invented today, they'd be compared worse to heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess back to Miami Vice, the firearms section here. Now there were certain brands of firearms and accessories that were featured on that show. After Johnson became dissatisfied with his holster for his gun, the Jackass Leather Company, yep, that was the name of it, which was later renamed Gallo International, sent their president, Rick Gallagher, to personally fit Johnson with an original Jackass rig, later renamed the Gallo Miami Classic. Now, the Bren 10, manufactured by Domamis and Dixon, was a stainless steel handgun used by Johnson during the first two seasons of Miami Vice. Now, it went out of business back in 1986. So Smith and Wesson, a more notable name to me, was offered a contract to build Johnson's character with a S&W model 645 during the third season. Now, several firearms have never been seen on TV before were prominently featured on the first time on the show, including the Glock 17 pistol. In addition to that, firearms have not been well known to the public, including the Mac 10, the Desert Eagle, and an M60 machine gun, which was featured from a rooftop in one episode titled Lombard. Now, the two automobiles that drew attention as well, of course, was the Crockett's Ferrari there, the Ferrari Daytona, and Testarossa. During the first two seasons and the first two episodes of the third season, Crockett drove a black 1972 Ferrari Daytona Spider 365 GTS/4 kit replica built on the Chevrolet Corvette C3 chassis. The car was fitted with Ferrari-shaped body panels by specialty car manufacturer McBurney Coachcraft. Once the car gained notoriety, Ferrari automobiles filed suit demanding that McBurney and any other cease and desist producing and selling Ferrari replicas, infringing upon the Ferrari name and styling. As a result, the Daytona lasted until the end of season two, which at that point was blown up in the premiere episode When Irish Eyes Are Crying. That's the one episode I mentioned earlier about one arms dealer demonstrating the effects of this weapon here, blows up Johnson's Ferrari there, while Crockett's like, "Holy cow," and Tubbs is like, "Sold, we will buy it." There, probably the most unique, interesting scenes of that episode of that show right there. Now, either the kit car nor its backup were actually destroyed, as the production company simply blew up an extra body shell for both cost and safety reasons. The fake Ferraris were removed from the show, with Ferraris donating two brand new 1986 Testarossas as replacements. The Ferrari Daytona is the subject of the huge continually goof on the show, when it suddenly reappears in an episode called Al Veio, Viejo, 6 episodes after the destruction without explanation. Originally, the episode that I just mentioned was set to be in the third season premiere, but the executives found that Daytona's destruction would serve as a more dramatic opening to the season. Now, Johnson's contract holdout, which also started the third season, also played it a part. He apparently hold out doing episodes and until he got a better paying contract there for a while there. That delayed it filming to the point where that particular episode could not be finished in time for the season premiere. So he was also, and by the way, Crockett was also seeing a black 1978 Porsche 911 there. So ah,
It was
that
part
was
of the
featured in
cover.
his. Yep, it was there. Yep, and it also had the built-in phones, which were extremely new at that time. This was way before cell phones. You would call someone on the phone while they could pick it up and answer while they're still driving. Now, here's a key element here. Throughout the series, Sonny Crockett lived in a sailboat titled St. Vincent's Stas while in the pilot episode. Apparently, what it was, his wife Caroline divorces him, and apparently he decides, to live on the boat because he has to make child payments and all that stuff.
Right.
Now, for the rest of the series, he's seen in an Davador 42 sailboat, which at our time in 1986 was priced at 120,000. The allure of the sailboats was that such that the sailboat was used in the 1986 season was sold to a Midwest couple, while the previous one was sold to a chartering service in Fort Lauderdale. And at the same time, the boat company in Davenport was building a new 42 for the 1987 season of that show. And he also kept a crocodile, I guess alligator or crocodile named Elvis, so you know. I think you remember that there.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to forget something like that.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's hard to, but you got to remember the glitz and glamour of the 1980s. That's what it was focused on. The trending scent at that time. It also gave a good description of what the vice cops had to go through, to catch the bad guys. You know, and apparently, for what I understand, I remember reading about this, or actually listening to this on a YouTube clip there. A guy named Billy Corbin, who directed this movie called Cocaine Cowboys, which is kind of like a documentary.
Yeah.
He kind of like described the drug cartel activities in those areas, where it's Fort Lauderdale and Miami, mostly Miami, because for what he stated, that city was apparently built on drug money, I guess.
Yeah, and from all indications, the reason this show was set in Miami was because that, well, in a sense, drug capital of the USA.
Yeah. Hmm. And also we cannot forget the movie Scarface. You
Yeah.
understand that, which, as you can tell, played a major influence in hip hop. All these rappers have been making these videos, try to live the lavish lifestyle that Tony Montana was living. Because in a lot of ways, here's a guy who came from Cuba, an immigrant, moves to the States to become successful, and he becomes successful through a drug cartel,
Yeah.
becomes a drug lord himself. But in the end, he ends up getting his ass blown away. So keep that in mind. If anybody out there is feeling about, they're thinking about getting into the drug trade, keep in mind, they better watch that scene there.
Yeah, because it's not, you're probably going to have a pretty good chance of dying young.
Yeah. Or later on in his life, karma does come and collect, A lot of these rappers out there who would talk about the drug trade and stuff, they praise it, they don't really talk about the dark side. That's where Ice-T comes in with him many of his lyrics, like the song New Jack Hustler. He kind of describes it all to a T there. Even KRS One did a song about that called Material Love. You know.
Yeah.
Now, now let's see if we can find, how many stars have been on the episode there. Well, I'm going to look up list of guests on Miami Vice here. And because they had they had a lot. They had a lot.
It was
They had a
kind of
lot of
like
stars.
the old Batman series where people were fighting to be on it.
Yeah, exactly. I remember hearing about that as well. They even got Lurch on to make a guest appearance in the episode there, believe it or not,
Yeah.
for the Adams family. Now let's see what we got here. We got Charlie Barnett, a comedian. He was in the episode Cool Runnin'. We had Dennis Farina, who later had a series of his own produced by Michael Mann called Crime Story. That aired it right after Miami Vice. That was set in years before in the 1950s, and theme song for that was "Runaway" by Del Shannon. We also had let's see right here. Of course, Bruce Willis. He was an arms smuggler in the episode No Exit. We cannot forget this one mainstay here. His name is Martin Ferrano. He played a guy named Izzy Moreno. He was a former bank robbery. He turned into an informant for the Crockett and Tubbs at times, to get the information, kind of like what Huggy Bear was on Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
He was on a lot of episodes there. In fact, I'm surprised he didn't get an episode of his own or a series of his own when you think about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things they call a recurring character.
Yeah, it was. And believe me, I think he was loved a lot. Let's see here. We got, of course, a few. Let's see, of course, Glenn Fry, as I mentioned. A couple of these. Oh, Pam Grier.
Yeah.
She played a former lover of Ricardo Tubbs. She was also an NYPD cop. You know, as I mentioned, Frank Zappa, and a few here. Let's see here. Ving Rhames, the actor, he played a Haitian immigrant there in the episode The Maze. Oh, we cannot forget, of course, James Brown,
Yeah.
the Godfather Soul. He was on that episode. He was on one of the episodes as well. I guess it's supposed to focus on UFOs. I think of what I understand. Oh, Issei Morales, the guy who started with Sean Penn in the 1982 movie Bad Boys, who also starred alongside Lou Diamond Phillips in La Bamba, this movie about Richie Valens. He was a feature in one of the episodes there. Let's see here. Of course, season two had, of course, Gene Simmons,
Right.
Penn Juliet from Penn and Teller, of course, Pam Grier again, and of course, Eartha Kitt, who played a Catwoman in the Batman series. She
Yeah.
played it in the series there, the episode called Prodigal Son, where in the travel to New York, which is Tubbs' hometown, to catch this one guy who shot their old captain, whose name I forgot, but I remember seeing him. He was a character actor. He played on Sanford and Son. He was part of the Electric Company. PBS series there, which focuses on kids,
Right.
learning to read and shit. If you look, in fact, looked up the character Easy Reader, played by Morgan Freeman back in there.
Yeah, sounds like Reading Rainbow, but I could be
Yep.
wrong.
Yeah.
That's a show I'm not
The
familiar with.
Oh, I watched it as a kid. I mostly watched it because Spider-Man was involved in that, and I was big on Spider-Man at that period.
Wasn't LeVar Burton a part of that too?
Lee Hoogan,
LeVar Burton?
Lee Lavar. No, I don't think so. No, but it
Oh,
also had Rita Morero.
yeah.
Yeah, and she's a well-respected Latin actress as well. She was one who also christened this one 3 words. Hey, you guys! That was one of her trademark sayings there for a long while there. Little Richard was a guest star on the one episode there. It also had David Johansen, the singer from the New York Dolls, who later became Buster Poindexter. He was in an episode called The Dutch Oven. Frank Nathan Lane, who starred with Robin Williams in the Birdcage movie of years later on. He was in an episode called Buddies, along with another co-star, Frankie Valli, who we mentioned a couple of times before on one of our series there.
Yeah.
Miles Davis, Clarence Williams III, the guy who was starred in the Mod Squad, Prince's Father in Purple Rain, Tales from the Hood, and a couple others. He made a guest appearance on the program. He played a Haiti voodoo priest on the one called Tale of the Goat. Ray Sharkey, who starred in The Idolmaker, of early 1980s movie there. That also starred Peter Gallagher, another noteworthy actor there. He appeared on this in the same episode. Dean Stockwell, he was involved there as well. Let's see here. Of course, El DeBarge. He was in an episode called Bought and Paid For. G. Gordon Liddy,
Huh.
remember him?
Oh,
He
yeah.
was in one called Back in the World, and of course Iman, who would later become David Bowie's wife for many years. And of course Phil Collins, Emo Phillips, who was sort of a comedian, from what I understand.
Uh,
Ted Nugent.
it's kind
Go
of
ahead.
supposed to be a comedian.
Yeah,
He actually
exactly.
wasn't that funny, but that's a personal
Yeah.
opinion.
Oh, here, look at this one. Jan Hammer, who did the theme music. He made an appearance in. He was a guest on the episode One Way Ticket. Annie Golden, that's the lady I was looking for. She was also. She played a mechanic and an informant to Crockett and Tubbs here and there at various episodes. Uh, Fiona, the female singer from the 1980s. She played in an episode called Little Miss Dangerous, named after the Ted Nugent song of the same name at that time, and name of the album that the Nuge put out just as well there.
Right.
The Fat Boys was involved. Let's see, also Bill Russell. I'm not too sure who he was, but he
Basketball
played
player.
yeah, he played a dishonest judge with a gambling debt. I remember that episode for shizzle there. Harvey Harvey Bernstein,
Firestein?
Michael
Yeah.
Richards, Firestein. Yes, that was his name. Michael Richards from
Huh.
the show Seinfeld and the Saturday Night Live ripoff Fridays. You remember that show years ago?
Yeah.
Yes. This the episode Payback featured Frank Zappa, who played a drug kingpin in there towards near. I guess it was in the middle of the episode where he made his appearance. And of
Interesting
course,
because Zappa and Nugent were two guys that were, well, I'm not sure about Zappa, but Nugent for sure were staunchly anti drug.
yeah, I know exactly. But then again, Nugent Pro was given interviews about that episode that he did, which was titled definitely Miami. He was promoted it on interviews saying, "Check this out, I'm going to be on my Miami Vice. I'm going to be, and I beat the crap out of Don Johnson." And because there was one episode where he'd literally supposedly gave where his character gave Crockett a big black eye for messing with his girl. Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong, also Charlie Barnett once again. Oh, Richard Belzer, the actor and comedian who would later become
Law and Order.
John Munch of the SVU squad, Law and
Right.
Order. He was in Trust Fund Pirates.
It was funny because as a comedian, I didn't like Richard Belzer, and I thought he was
Hmm.
annoying. But once he
Yeah,
got on Law and Order SVU, I liked him pretty well in that show. He was decent in that show.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, I admire him as well because you're like yourself. I wasn't big on his humor as well. It was just wasn't that funny to me. Oh, the episode Sons and Lovers. Um, John, what's his name? John Leg, Leguizamo.
John
He's very well
Leguizamo.
known.
Yeah.
Yes, he's very respectable. I guess he played it. He was a numerous characters. I believe he was a clown in the Spawn movie around the 1990s. He
Right.
also started a movie of his own called The Pest, which was kind of like his version of Jim Carrey's The Mask or something like that.
Well,
And also,
in my chat, it was just pointed out to me by Three Ponies that Don
mhm.
Johnson was in Zachariah, the Electric Cowboy.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
Um, oh,
that was an interesting movie. I saw that.
yes. And Lee Iacocca, who at the remember was the head honcho at Chrysler Motors.
Right.
He made an appearance in as a parks commissioner in the episode Sons and Lovers. Liam Nielsen. He's the episode I mentioned where Irish cry.
Well,
Excuse me.
he isn't he the one that
When
was one of the original Jedi's in first movie?
yeah, yes, he starred in a couple others movies as well. He was in the Taken series. He did a lot of movies. I remember the first time I actually heard of him was a movie called Satisfaction with Justine Bateman of Family Ties, and an actress who later gained her own fame called Julia Roberts.
Oh yeah, I've heard of her.
Yes, and the episode was, of course, Paul Gleason. I think you remember this guy's name for some. He played a Caroon's associate, from what I understand there. And of course, Liam Nielsen. He started as, I guess, he was an Irish terrorist in the episode When Irish Eyes Are Crying. Now, G. Gordon Liddy once again in Stone's War, and he would return in that role as just as well, I guess, as politically motivated drug runner. hmm Let's see here. Of
That's
course,
almost same
man,
character.
yeah, I know. Martin Farrell, he's in a lot of these damned episodes. He should have got a series of his own for crying out loud when you think about it. Lawrence Fishburne, he played a prison guard in the one called Walk Alone. Ron Perlman, who played a director of prisons. The guy who later played in Beauty and the Beast and Hellboy and Sons of Anarchy. Charles S. Dalton, he was in the one called The Good Collar. Let's see here. A couple others there. Willie Nelson.
Huh.
Yeah, he played a former Texas Ranger. I remember that episode well. He sometimes he was a Texas Ranger who decided to become get involved with the drug trade himself. Sometimes the low road takes you places where the good road don't take you there. That was his
Well,
excuse there.
one of the things that's interesting about Willie Nelson is not only the outstanding musical career, he had several
Yeah,
pretty decent movies.
yeah. Honeysuckle Rose, Barbarossa, and a couple others there. I
Yeah,
remember those
Barbarossa was a
movies
good
pretty well.
movie.
Yeah, I
And
remember
the
hearing
one
like,
about the train robber, what the heck was the name of that movie?
I'm not too sure. Let's see here. I'm not. It's not on here. I'm still on the.
It's kind of
I
about
don't
the
remember.
train robber that got out of prison, and they were
Mhm.
expecting him to go rob a train again, and
Yeah.
it was a good movie. I don't remember the name of it though.
Oh yeah. Oh, Chris Elliott. He was on an episode called Down for the Count Part Two. I remember him from the TV show Get a Life that ran on Fox throughout the 1990s.
Well, Three Ponies is a lot of help. He just said Once Upon a Texas Train. Now I
Mhm.
remember that movie. Well, I remembered the
Oh
movie. I
yeah.
just didn't remember the name. That's a good movie.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Helena Bonham Carter, who later became the wife of Tim Burton, the director, she played it Crockett's girlfriend who had a heroin addiction at that time. Let's see. Also, we have Brad Dornoff. I think, did I pronounce that name right? Dourif. He was a drug dealer, and the one called Teresa. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Vincent D'Onofrio. He played a former convict helping Calderon. I guess that's how his name is pronounced. He was in an episode called The Afternoon Plane. And I heard this name before, Viggo Mortensen. He was in an episode called Red Tape. Annette Bening and Lou
Wow.
Diamond Phillips in this episode as well. Now, Annette Bening, we haven't heard from much in God knows how long. She, of course, later on became the wife of Warren Beatty
Right.
when they
Yeah.
did that movie together. And I don't know if they're still together or divorced or whichever here.
I'm not even
Melanie
sure if they're
Griffin.
still alive. Yeah, I
Oh,
remember
I
Melanie
think they
Griffin.
are. Yeah. She was actually Don Johnson's first wife, believe it or not, when he was still a struggling actor at that time. They broke up the marriage. Johnson would later find his cue playing Sonny Crockett. Griffin would later earn her respect with movies like Working Girl and a couple others. Body Double that was directed by Brian De Palma. They She guest starred in an episode called By Hooker, by Crook, along with George Takei from Star Trek, Lou Albano, Captain Lou Albano from the WWF. He made an appearance on there, as well as Vanity
Huh.
from Vanity 6. She played a call girl in that episode here. Let's see what we got here.
Almost in character.
I know, exactly. It's kind of ironic that her and Prince are now together in heaven somewhere.
Yeah.
Because they did briefly date for a while until she left, making room for Apollonia Catero. Charles Keating, he was in episode titled "Everybody's in Showbiz," along with Benicio El Toro, if I'm correct, his
Mm.
name is pronounced. Let's see here, season 4 here. Meg Foster, who I remember her, she was a prosecutor. I first heard of her in a movie titled "They Live" with Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Oh, that was a good movie too.
And Brian Dennehy, he played a reverend who tried to frame Tubbs in an episode titled "Amen, Send Money." Kelly Lynch, the actress who starred with Matt Dillon in Drugstore Cowboy, she was in an episode titled "Death and the Lady," along with Penelope Ann Miller. Let's see here. Vin Raines, once again in Child's Play, playing a abusive boyfriend and a small-time arms dealer. Isaac Hayes was in the same episode here.
Later
S.A.
went on to
Morales.
become the chef.
Yep. And of course, Issei Morales doing in the episode God's Work as well. He made an appearance again. Chris Rock and James Brown in the one called Missing Hours. Jan Hammer made an appearance in Like a Hurricane, along with, of course, Sheena Easton, who, as I mentioned, will later become the second wife of Sonny Crockett.
Right.
And she would also appear along with in this other episode soon afterwards, titled "The Rising Sun of Death." Lori Petty, an actress who I remember played one of the co-stars of the show Booker,
Hmm.
that was a spin-off of 21 Jump Street that starred Richard Grieco, and later become Tank Girl. in 1996. She was in an episode with Iman, Bowie's wife, in Love at First Sight, along with, of course, Sheena Easton. Let's see here. Harry Shearer, who you remember from This is Spinal Tap. He was
Right.
a federal agent in The Cows of October.
And that was actually a pretty
And
good movie.
Michael DeBars, who we know he was an actor and a singer. He first came to notoriety as a singer for a band called Detective. They released one or two albums on Zeppelin's Swan Song label.
I
He
think
later,
they only released one album, but I could be wrong.
oh, all right,
But
we'll
yeah,
have
I
to
remember
look
that
that up.
band.
Yeah. Uh, Mark Metcalf, Niedermeyer from Animal House. He was in Baseball's the Deaf. He played a Miami DEA agent conspiring with Guerrero. Some guy, what I guess one of the characters on that episode, I guess. Let's see. Heard of this guy? Let's hear. Of course. Once he blah 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 blah. Let's go here. I know really too much of these names, but then again, I'm not Swiss on some of the Hollywood names up there.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
not big. I know.
Frank. Here's one. Frank Stallone. He appeared in Blood and Roses, playing some dirty man or something like that. Let's see. Julia Roberts. She was
Yeah,
in Mirror Image, playing a girlfriend of a drug dealer. And let's see here. Matt Ferrero. Am I pronouncing his name right? Frewer.
Frewer.
Yes,
I'm
that's
not
the guy
familiar with him.
who starred. Yeah, he was the member of Max Headroom.
Yeah,
He
I
was that
didn't
was
think
the
much
guy
of
who
that,
played him.
but
Yeah,
I
he
remember it.
that's the guy who played him in both those little videos, that Art of Noise video as well, and the TV series which ran briefly on ABC.
Yeah, that was a short run series, as I remember.
Yeah, it was exactly. Let's see. We also had. I'm going through the list here that we most know here. Not much people I know. The rest on this list here. Let's see here. There should be someone coming up, I guess. Man, damn. A lot of Karen Black,
Yeah,
the actress, started with David Bowie, and of course the trilogy of terror. She was in Victims of Circumstance.
yeah. Trilogy of
Ian
Terror
Mc.
was an interesting movie too.
Oh yeah, her spot with that voodoo doll still
Oh
remains
my
one of the
gosh, yeah,
greatest moments of all time. Absolutely.
yeah.
She
That was
no, she was.
highly memorable.
Oh yeah, and of course Ian McShane. Now you may not know who this Ian McShane. Let me look at this guy because the guy seems very familiar. Let me see here. Ian McShane. No, it's not. I'm thinking of the guy who fronted the Pogues, which was an Irish
Right.
music group from the 1980 that gained a lot of recognition here. That's, let's see here. Dennis Farina, once again, playing a mobster in World of Trouble. Let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. And Pam Grier, once again, former lover of Tubbs and Too Much Too Late.
Yeah.
And that was about it. That's the one we can noticeably know pretty much. So, let's see here. Now, in the future, we would now have CSI Miami, part of
Right.
the crime scene investigation franchise. We have CSI Crime Scene Investigation. We have a CSI New York, and of course CSI Miami.
Right.
Now, the difference, both areas are sunny, as you could tell. There's lots of parties, so lots of glitz, lots of glamour. Of course, Miami's known for that kind of stuff there. But the difference in between both series is that if you watch CSI, you notice that almost everything is basically more windows than they have walls, including a courtroom.
Yeah. It's well, not it's a different series in the sense of how it's treated and how the cops are and everything of that nature.
That is
It's
true.
just a different series, but
I know it is a different series,
it
but
still kind of deals in the same type of crimes for the most part.
yeah, but well, CSI Miami, well, like all the others, focuses on forensics. Looking
Right.
into this piece of evidence, that piece of evidence, there, here, and there. But the thing that startled me was, as I mentioned, courtrooms usually are not made of glass,
Oh no.
where everybody can walk pass by, just walk right in and seeing a trial going on right before your eyes. Usually, if that would happen, some sort of security guard would tell you, "Beat it, bud."
Yeah. Yeah.
Including even the police station themselves is mostly windows when you think about it.
Yeah. That's well, the CSI franchise is something that we might get into in this show a little later.
Yeah,
Uh, there's so many
absolutely.
different things of that type of show that we can cover. That's
Oh
just
yeah. Oh yes. NCIS as well. We gotta get digging
oh
deep
yeah,
in
there's
that
three of
series
those.
because absolutely, there's three of that franchises. One starting the same guy who starred in both Star Trek Enterprise and the Quantum Leap before.
Yeah, I think that's the Los Angeles one,
No, no, Los Angeles
or is
is
that the New
Chris.
Orleans one?
Yeah, that's the New Orleans one.
Yeah,
The Los Angeles one is LL Cool J, Linda Hunt, and Chris McDonald O'Donnell, I think it is. Yeah.
yeah, and the original one is pretty much Mark Harmon. There were other
Hmm.
people in it that were big, but Mark Harmon is the one
Yeah.
that everybody
And
knows.
Polly Perrette, who was probably considered the most sexiest goth girl on television there.
Oh yeah, I loved that part of the show. She was good
Who
in that.
done? Oh, oh, she was a dream, man. I could tell you that. My girlfriend at that time, when we were watching that, she was like shopping at times was a little more plump version of Abby when you think about it. There are a
Uh,
couple of times people were mistaking her for Abby without the pigtails, of course,
wow.
and I often got her on her nerves a few times there.
Yeah, that's like I said, we got a tremendous list of shows that we can cover going over this. It's going to be, well, we obviously aren't going to cover them all, but
No,
there's a few of them that will combine the franchises. That'll help. Of course, Law and
yeah,
Order. If we get into that one, there's at least
it's going to
four
be
of
a long,
those.
probably. We got, or actually five. Remember,
Yeah,
there was the original Special Victims Unit, Criminal Intent. There was Law and Order UK. There was also, I think there was, what's the one that
I think it
Law
was
and
Los
Order?
Angeles, but I could be wrong.
Well,
Yeah,
Los Angeles only was short-lived, along with Trial by Jury.
Trial by
Those two
Jury.
are the
That's the
only
one I'm
ones.
thinking of.
I am. That didn't last that long, I guess.
No,
All right, definitely. All right, so it fits to say that Miami Vice, sadly ran its course in January of 1990. Basically, it was time to move on, make way for
right.
other things. We
Right.
haven't heard from Phil Michael Thomas and Don Johnson for a while. Well, of course, except for Johnson, he would later get picked up by CBS to do a series along with Cheech Marin from Cheech and Chong to do Nash Bridges. That was
Yeah, I'm
highly
not really
successful
familiar
for
with
that
that.
network.
Well,
Well,
I've got a request here for
yeah,
us to look at Boston Legal. Which, if we look at Boston Legal, we got to consider the show that came before Boston Legal too, The
yeah,
Practice,
oh yeah,
that kind of led
and
into
it's
Boston Legal. But the interesting
and the
thing
star
about
of that
Boston
show.
Legal, yeah, and the interesting about Boston Legal is it was another William Shatner vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. William Shatner, he's been almost everywhere when you come to think about Star Trek, T.J. Hooker, Rescue 911, all the Star Trek movies out there. You know,
Yeah, for a guy that was supposedly a bad actor, he sure gets a lot of acting roles.
yeah, he does. Something about him, I guess. Well, he's regarded as the ultimate player back then. He was getting with this alien chick, that alien chick there. When you think about
Oh,
it,
yeah, that was the interesting thing about the Star Treks was seeing what alien chick he was going to hook up with.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, Sonny Crockett hooked up with a lot of chicks at various times, along with Tubbs. You got to
Right.
give him his due at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once again, Miami Vice, one of the first shows that really got me into police dramas such as NCIS and CSI and Law and Order and a couple others, including Cops, Live PD. There,
Oh, I'm
good
a
to
big
say that.
fan of cop shows, mystery shows, whatever you want to call them, PI
Yes,
shows, that sort of thing. I'm a
Forensic
big fan.
Files.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one I forgot to mention that ran on the former Spike network. Yeah, it was a show called Jail. It would
I have
show
not
what all
seen that.
these. Oh man, it is a trip. You see all these Fruit Loops being coming out, being carted out of the police vehicles. They're either drunk, insane, or violently uncooperative, or they have to put masks on them to keep them from spitting onto other people and stuff. A couple of them are drunk as hell, high as hell. It's unbelievable, man. You got to check that out a lot of
That
times.
sounds
But
a
a couple of times, there are a lot of times they would show live PD and of course jail. A lot of times on the one of the back bars at Numbers nightclub, and a lot of people be watching. I just see what kind of Fruit Loop it gets busted this week. Has to
yeah,
go through all that process.
yeah, man. But I guess we need to tell folks that tomorrow we're going to go on the second episode of covering the Beatles, starting
Yes.
with Revolver and going however far we can go.
Yep.
And that one starts at 5 instead of 6 Central Time.
Yeah, that's right. Because of my stint with Real as Fuck TV with Minnesota Vikings fan and Minnesota Silver Roll Hunter.
Right. And then on
That'll be
Friday,
at and that'll be at course sick as I should probably Real Suck TV will be at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central, where we're both located. So our show in the East Coast will be about 6 p.m. here. Let's
right, right. And then Friday night, we're going to talk about Ray Harryhausen. And that one will
mhm.
start at our normal time at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern.
All right, and I gotta look up this guy and download his a picture of him to use as a thumbnail one of these days. I got to do that probably tonight or tomorrow.
I don't remember what I picked up. I think I picked up Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Hmm.
I don't remember. I'll have to, when I create the file, I'll have to
All right.
remember what it was.
Uh-huh. All right, so that'll do it for this episode of TV Memories, episode 5. And episode, what are we going to do next week for
I'm not
episode
sure. We'll
6?
we'll kind of talk about it and see. Like I said, we have one suggestion, but I'll have to refresh my
Hmm.
memory on that one.
Right.
And
I still want to get into the all the TV series that Bill Cosby was involved in. There was the Bill Cosby Show, there was Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, of course the Cosby Show, and just Cosby in the 90s there.
yeah, he
And
had at
I
least
think,
three or four.
and plus we cannot forget I Spy, which was in the
Right,
1960s there.
right. He
Yeah,
was,
we gotta we gotta look into all the series that he has done there.
yeah. And as controversial as he is, those shows were
Yeah,
actually
right
pretty good.
now. Yeah, definitely. All right, so now I say we make that next week, okay?
Yeah, we can do that.
Do you have any, or unless you have something else in mind?
Well, I'd have to think of it. I don't have one off the top of my head.
All right, so definitely we'll keep that one option open till one that comes up there, okay? If
Okay.
you have something good, feel free to message me on Skype, okay?
Okay. Well, the music one's easy because it's basically a journey, and
Mhm.
that I've got that pretty much laid out. Where I want to go with that one.
All right,
We're in the '60s and we're gonna stay there a long time.
all right, there
And
definitely,
same when we get to the '70s.
yeah,
Both of those are gonna be long.
all right, definitely for shizzle. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Arknolia and the Doctor, episode 5 of TV Memories. Um, for Arknolia and myself, everybody have a good Wednesday night, and you guys have a good one, okay?
All right, and hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, there. Bye bye.